Expand your mind and enrich your world. It's time for another outstanding podcast from ICRT.
Hello and welcome to another podcast edition of Taiwan Talk. I'm Keith Manconi. Sexual education is difficult. To start with, the topic of sex is something most of us just want to avoid entirely. It's awkward, can even be controversial at times, and bringing that topic into a classroom doesn't make it any easier. But it's also really important to get right. And one women's rights group is claiming that many textbooks in Taiwan just aren't. Taiwan Women's Link says that after reviewing textbooks and classroom materials for sexual education, they found numerous examples of incorrect and misleading material that they claim is often motivated more by ideology or religion than by evidence-based research. I spoke recently with the group's chairperson, Su Huang, to learn a little bit more about what they say they've found and the broader picture of sex and health education in Taiwan. Su Huang, thanks so much for joining us today.
I'm glad to be here.
So just to start things off, your report is pretty long, so we can't go into all the details that you talk about. But just to give our listeners a sense of the issues that you found when you looked at these textbooks, can you give us some examples of some of the most striking things that really got your attention and made you want to take this issue on?
Okay. We inspect the textbook and the teacher's handbook of our health education. We found things are changing, but our teaching is still very old-fashioned. They still use threats, harassment to teach kids. For instance, for sex education, instead of tell them what is a bad sex or what is good sex or responsible sex, they tell you not to have sex before marriage because the premarital marriage will cause erectile problems, will make a problem of sexual desire.
Those are some of the claims that are in these textbooks.
Yes.
That premarital sex will cause these health problems.
Yes.
And that's factually inaccurate.
Inaccurate. And then also they give you too much moral issues. And we think a health education should be teach you how to keep you healthy. Of course, moral issue helps a little bit. We are not object to teach a little bit, but instead they put a lot of context on that part. Like you should have true love to have sex. But we want to know how to have a safe sex.
Right.
But they avoid it. Even they teach you condom, but they only teach you condom on how to prevent disease, but they're not in the part that you get pregnant. Yeah. Or in the safe sex wise, but they say, it's because of disease. So I think they tried somehow. Sex is something that happens every day. Okay, and of course you can teach kids to be abstain, but you all know those things running in kids' head. What if they could not control it? Then what they should do? I think this is something that we needed to teach them, but not just tell them you should keep it as a gift. When you get married.
Right. That's another way. That's kind of how they frame the issue, is that virginity is a gift.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is really what should be emphasized is this practical knowledge of how to keep yourself safe and prevent pregnancy.
Yeah. We should. Those things are major context you should have instead of moral teachings. Yeah.
And then there were a couple of other issues, even outside of the health issues. In your report, you were detailing some of the ways that they deal with homosexuality you took issue with.
Okay. In our curriculum guidelines, they kind of more open-minded now. They say that you have to describe, what is the homosexuality. And so, but in those textbooks, the definition for sexuality, homosexual, is weird. Yeah. They quote some old scholars' definition, but which is totally outdated and not accurate to define homosexuality. So we don't understand why they did it, and then it's not cut. It's not cut through review of the textbook.
Right, the review process didn't take that out.
Yeah.
Right, and just you know, talking about their definition of homosexuality. When I was reading some media reports about this, it sounded like the definition was they were defining it as it has to be somebody over 18.
Yeah, they quote an old scholar's definition, say that the homosexuality is people over 18 and have intercourse several times, something like that, to define the homosexual, and which is totally out of picture. Yeah.
Right.
And also, like they have, say in the lunar calendar, July, women tends to have more depression, and the temple also has those infant soul, and this is all after abortion symptoms or phenomenon. Yeah.
So the textbook's warning, these are some symptoms you would have to worry about if you had an abortion.
Yeah, and then the reason you have abortion is because you have a premarital life, sex.
Okay. So they're just framing this all in a very moral way, and then trying to warn the kids about the dangers.
Yeah.
And then some of the things that were the most interesting to me when I was looking through the report that you had is some of the claims that are in this curriculum are just not scientifically accurate. Could you talk about some of those?
Yeah, those are mainly in teachers' handbook. Okay. For instance, they will say condom is not safe. They will still give you 10 to 45% of chance to get HIV, or they cannot prevent chlamydia.
And that's just not true?
It's not true. Yeah.
And so if a student were to believe something like that, they might feel like, oh, what's the point of even...
That's right. I mean, we all believe, one way or another, we have to do something about having a safe sex. If condom is not the way to do it, what do you want to teach? Not to have sex at all?
Right.
Even the Pope changed his attitude about condom. Okay, at least he said we should have used it to prevent HIV, which is scientifically based, that it is at least 90% safe, or if not 100%, there's nothing absolute.
Right.
But it is a tool that is for safe sex, and if you teach teacher, it is not right. So that what the teacher is going to teach children, So I think the textbook has a review process, but the high school text handbook, a teacher's book, handbook, is not reviewed. So we think that those has to be reviewed too.
So those are the books that are made for teachers to kind of decide how they're going to run that class.
That's right. They advise how teachers should run the class, and they give them some information. And then we also found in those books that the reference they give are those publications from church groups. Yeah.
They're referencing information from church groups.
Yeah.
So, according to your report, you reviewed a pretty broad range of material used in the classroom, and you found problems from 8 different publishers making textbooks on this issue. So this seems like and a lot of these things had gone through a review process by the Ministry of Education, and you also said that you found issues in the Ministry of Education's own guidelines. So this seems like a pretty wide-ranging issue affecting a lot of classrooms, a lot of classroom materials. What would you say is the root cause of this? Where is this getting introduced to the curriculum?
I think the government tried to make a good guideline, and also adopt advanced ideas, but maybe the society as a whole, they are very conservative. The teachers are very conservative. Teachers and the judge are the most conservative people in Taiwan, I would say. They are more attempted to follow the traditional ideas. So when they get this kind of information, it's like a fit their needs. So they're willing to teach like that. But for as long as for the textbook, I think in certain textbook has a very strong color of church. Those are because the church has they have influence on those publishers, or maybe the publisher itself is also very religious. So they try to use religious languages in the textbook. But when I'm talking about those ideology, we sort of cannot fight against it. But for the wrong information, I think those should be cut through the review system process, through the review process. If they, but I don't think the review process is a good process. Yeah, people just spend some time and just roughly go flipping through. Otherwise, if we can find it, why cannot I find it? I'm not talking about ideology or moral issue. I'm talking about correct, incorrect informations.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's kind of break those two issues up. So you're saying there's certain groups that have a little bit too much influence, and then the review process isn't quite as rigorous as you'd like to see. So what religious groups are we talking about? Are we talking? Is it Christians?
Because the reference I saw from I think is Christian, but I'm not saying religion is bad. Religion can preach their teachings through church, but I sort of doesn't like that they get too much involved in our textbook, especially in the health book. In the health education, it should be based on
evidence.
Yeah. And so if we keep teaching moral stuff, I don't think it's a good thing. Yeah.
Would you like to see it? I mean, maybe this is getting beyond the specifics of this report, but would you like to see it become easier for Taiwan society to discuss issues of sex and health?
Oh yeah, I mean, sex and health issues are everyday's in our everyday's life, and so people has to talk about it openly, yeah, and then not see sex as a taboo or a dirty matter.
Do you think it's a big taboo right now?
It's still, because even we've been pushing for to have condoms sold in campus, university campus. It doesn't work. Yeah.
And so what do you think is preventing that from happening? Why do you think it's still so difficult to talk about in Taiwan?
Parent? Yeah.
They're just not comfortable?
It's okay. In Taiwan, parents is more care about how the kids achieve in academically. And to deal with sex, they see sex as a hinder force to achieve in academic. So even they went through their juvenile years. They know what's going on, and they did what is taboo. But when they become teacher, most of them still stay in a conservative way because they want to see their kids be successful academically, and later on they can find a good job and a good life. Yeah, but sex from their grown up is being suppressed. Okay. Although they probably have sex before marriage, but when they become parents, they still say, "Oh, you shouldn't." Yeah, and yeah, so it's something like
it's a double standard.
That's right, and then the whole society doesn't have a reflection on themselves. Yeah.
Now, getting back to this more policy issue, your government is actually trying to work with the Ministry of Education to re-review these textbooks and these guidelines. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're asking the Ministry of Education to do? Yeah.
So in October, there's a public hearing on the revision of the health education curriculum. And we'll go in and express our thinking, and also we will ask them to review also the teachers' handbooks. Yeah.
And what do you expect from that process? Do you expect big changes?
I think there will be changes, because what we told them is a fact. It's a very serious problem. If they don't do it, they will be committed the same mistakes. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to have to keep our eyes on what comes out of that in October. But we have been speaking today to the chairperson of Taiwan Women's Links, Sue Huang. Sue, thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome, and I'm very happy to be here.
Thanks for listening to Taiwan Talk. If you got a second, don't forget to rate and review the program on iTunes. It lets us know what you're thinking and helps other people discover the program. Also, quick reminder to our listeners out there looking for an easy and entertaining way to stay up to date on the biggest news stories in Taiwan. Look no further. Taiwan This Week is our weekly news review show in which ICRT's news team discusses the biggest stories of the week, along with some that are just fun to talk about. That's on air every Friday night at 8:30 and also online at all the same places you can find Taiwan Talk. Okay, ad is over, and that is it for the show today. So for ICRT, I'm Keith Manconi.